Hi, my name is Rukis. If you are new to my channel, I make videos exclusively about SEED, the new MMO game from Klang games, and there's a lot been happening in this last couple of weeks. So this episode we're gonna look at some of the new questions, puzzles, links we found that's led us sometimes down a rabbit hole, but sometimes finding some very interesting information that's relevant to the game and the universe that's being created around this game, what's going to happen in it, what's some of the backstory leading up to it. There's some organizations or companies out there who are working on technologies that could be applicable in the game, and we've started to pick up on some of those things, trying to put them together, solve the riddles, answer the questions, and try and get a better understanding of what this game is going to be like, what are some of the things that are going to be in this game, and what do we need to do as a group to prepare and to play this game. So what I thought I'd do in this episode is to do things a little bit differently. I'm going to take you through some of the sites and the places where we found some information about the game, and some of it's directly linked, some of it not so direct. We think it's relevant to some of the questions we're going to have to answer. And along the way of this investigation, which is not finished by any means, there's been a lot of help from other fellow players and friends, as this is definitely not just me finding out all this information. There's a lot of people that have been involved and shared information and shared links and answers, and work together to figure out some of the puzzles, and the puzzles are getting a bit more intricate, and we're hoping this will continue because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stuff to discuss on the Discord, and we're starting to play this game, which is very, very interesting. So let's get into it. So in October, a link was being shared on this website, Quito Foods. And when I checked it out initially, I didn't make the connection. I thought it was just a random site that shared a name, Quito Foods, and in the game we're talking about Quito paste, something that the seedlings are going to be eating, and I thought it was just a coincidence. But then, some of the other players mentioned it again and again, and I thought, let me go and check it out. Let me actually read what's going on there. And what's very interesting is that there's a bunch of information just on this one website. So one of the first things that you see it's around food production from impoverished areas. It looks at the fair trade movement, and then there's this guy, this Sebastian Espejo, who is the founder. And you remember his name because his name comes up in a lot of different places. There's a couple of projects that they talk about, and you'll find that some of this information is linked to real sites, and some of it looks a little, you're unsure whether this is a genuine site or whether this is genuine information. But for example, if you Google the fair trade certification, you'll find that there's a huge movement around fair trade and about helping farmers to generate a living income, where big corporations are taking their produce and using it, to build up their own profits in the products that they provide. Fair trade gives recognition to producers that take into account the whole value chain and the farmers, and whether they are actually earning a living income from the farming that they do. So very legitimate, very good cause. But then back to Quito Foods, if you then start looking at some of the pages, so let's just have a look here at the about page. Here immediately it looks a little empty for a web page, and the information looks a little non-specific, which is a little strange. So that was one of the first clues, and you can see the rest of the page very empty, not a lot of information here. So let's look at the founder. And so there you see this guy, Sebastian Espejo, and he seems to subscribe to this fair trade movement, this whole principle of supporting the areas where this farming is being done, which is often an impoverished area. And this seems to be one of the causes. And there's an email address. I've emailed that. I haven't received anything back yet, but it's an email with noting. Then if you look at the different projects, there's the three things that they seem to be doing. First of all, there's this Sallow Natural, which is an organic barcode system. Now, if you go and have a look at that, you'll see again there's not a lot of information there, but apparently it's a way of barcoding directly onto a product so that you can just take the loose banana and scan it at the cash register to pay for it, which is a very interesting concept, but we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what that is. Then there's a Credito Justo, which seems to be around payments and assisting people to access credit and loans. And if you go and you Google Credito Justo as well, you can see a couple of things that seem to be related, but it's not 100% clear whether it actually is. You can see I've already checked some of this out. So if you go to this website, for example, now this is a Credijusto, not Credito Justo. So again, very similar, seems to be a legitimate company, but that's not the one we're looking at. We're looking at Credito Justo. So maybe something to investigate further. But okay, let's go back to the projects again. Then Quito Paste, which is something that's been mentioned a couple of times on the Discord and in the AMAs, and this apparently is something that seedlings love. This is their burger and fries. This is what they live on. It's got all the nutritional qualities and vitamins and minerals that they need. But it was mentioned recently that there's a range of different dishes that the seedlings will be able to make, and Quito Paste will be how they start. This will be some of the food they bring with them in the kernel, but this looks like it's the origin of Quito Paste, and it seems to again come from this area and this specific company. But then the question comes up, but how does Quito Paste then fit from this company into Seed the game? And so we'll have to find the answer to that question as well. And then you go to news, and this is where it starts to get interesting, because here it seems to be a connection to other people and other places outside of Quito Foods and the founder Sebastian Espejo. So you can see in October 2019, now there's this whole story where the mother of Sebastian claims that he was murdered, and there's a few names that stand out. So first of all, there's this Vivaan Laghari, so we'll just copy that, and we're gonna look her up in a second. And then if you read through all of it and go and have a look, you'll see some other names. I've also googled this Christian Gazaniga, but I haven't found any information on him as yet. And then there's this guy, Felipe Gil Varela, so let's copy him there as well, and we're gonna search up on him. And letters or communication between him and Sebastian, where he was apparently introduced by William Solobsky, which I haven't traced as well. The Sebastian's mother, who's writing back to Felipe here, claims that her son was a genius and he was involved in all sorts of massive projects and with important people, and that this woman, Vivaan Laghari, was somehow connected to his murder. But go and have a read, look through the detail, very, very interesting story. And there's also mention that Vivaan was trying to buy Quito Foods, or the name of Quito Foods, or some of its intellectual property, not sure. And then interesting that it's sort of, the trail just goes cold. There is this one report, again, that's a link that if you follow it up, goes to the World Food Program. When you click on this link, there's no information there. Maybe we'll find a link to this later on. So okay, so we've had a look at that, and then the final page there is getting involved, and that's again linked to Ecuador and the fair trade movement, and you see the same photo that's on the Quito Foods website again here. So very interesting there. They seem to be scanning the projects, so maybe this is linked to that Salo Natural. But again, it looks like a legitimate operation. So the two names that we pulled out of this website, the one was this guy, Felipe Gil Varela. And if you click on his Medium account, you find some of the articles that he's written. And there's only two. There's this interview with the mother, which is the same as what's on the Quito Foods website. And then there's another article. He seems to be focused on uncovering the murky world of big tech and their influence on the world, and again, the vibe here is that things are a little bit sketchy, but it's not 100% clear, and he hasn't written anything recent. This was last in September. So okay, that's Felipe, and then you get to Vivaan Laghari, and so there's a couple of things to check out. She's got a LinkedIn profile. Let's have a look at this. There's new live ventures. There's images on Pinterest. I don't think that's relevant. There's a YouTube channel. You can maybe just have a look what's that. So there's New Life Ventures, which seems to be a investment firm, and here she is, Vivaan Laghari. She studied at Harvard, been involved in managing huge portfolios. So the question immediately is, where does she fit into this? There's these two other people involved as well, Melissa Robertson and Henning Wallendorf. Now I googled them, I didn't find any connection, and if you sort of compare some of the things being mentioned here, like he was at JP Morgan Chase, for example, and his name, there doesn't seem to be any connection. But for Vivaan, there seems to be a little bit more information. So here you can see the YouTube channel, and I think there it's probably just some other random person. And if you look at her LinkedIn profile, then there, what's very interesting, again, confirming she's at New Life Ventures, she's a partner there, and there's an article that she shared, and there's only one article. So if you click on the link, then it takes you to this article. So now again, here's a statement regarding Sebastian Espejo, who's the founder of Quito Foods, and it says here, if you have any information regarding the disappearance of Seb Espejo, please email me with the subject Quito earthquake. So but it doesn't give her email address. So you can have a look at some of these other links. This is an interesting article where she basically says she wasn't involved in any way with his disappearance or his claimed murder, but it's something you can go and check out. And again, if you look at the links, there's nothing there. Quito Foods, again, only the one article. So that's Vivaan. So let's have a look at New Life Ventures in a little bit more detail. So let's go to the home page. They seem to be an investment company focused on building the future, but there's a very strong profit motivation here, where they are focusing building partnerships, turning those connections into cash flow, and it all looks very legit. So let's have a look at their portfolio. So now here immediately things look interesting. So here's Quito Foods again, and we've already had a look at that website. Here's Klang Games, and you should know them by now. They are the guys building SEED MMO, so there's a very interesting connection. Did New Life Ventures invest in Klang? Are they somehow involved with Klang's ownership or management? That's not clear, but it's something we need to go back and have a look at. There's this company, HeliXYZ, there's New Life Mines, Frontiers, and then Plaxin, and we've heard about Plaxin before, that's for sure. So we park those. We're going to come back to them, so let's just make sure we've covered everything. There's a contact page as well, and I had a look at all these conferences. They seem to be legitimate conferences, and apparently you can find Vivaan and her partners there from time to time, or you can message them. I've sent an email on this contact page, but I haven't received a response yet. Maybe I'm not using the right subject line. Something to go and check. And on the about page, it says what they are aiming for, and that's resolving some of the more pertinent challenges ever to face humanity. So things like food production, new currencies, technology born of the digital age, and so on. So those three things, very important: food production, currencies, and other technologies. So maybe that's got a link to these companies that they are investing in. So okay, let's go and close that. We can close Vivaan's Google here as well, and let's close Quito Foods as well. So what we have then is, first is this HeliXYZ, which seems to be a company building a cryptocurrency or a blockchain technology, working on that. And again, go and have a look. If you Google these founders, maybe you'll get some link that we haven't explored yet. But these guys seem to have been working on a a new way of handling this problem of smart contracts and blockchain and currency, and making that available in different kind of environments. Now, they've also written a white paper, which is something you can download here. Very interesting, some of the information that's being mentioned there. They are looking at creating a global currency for decentralized applications with an emphasis of mirroring the real world in large-scale simulations. Now, that is, I think, one of the objectives of Klang as well in the SEED MMO game, is to mirror the real world in a large-scale persistent simulation. So very interesting. So there must be some sort of connection between the two. And if you also look at the contact page, they say that they are particularly interested in hearing from online gaming communities who are interested in working with them to implement this in that virtual world. So again, that's something that maybe we as players should connect with them and see if there isn't a way of linking this currency, this technology to our gaming environment and seeing what we can do with it there. And like I mentioned, you can download the white paper. There's a lot of interesting information here that you can go and read up on to get a better understanding of what it is that this company is trying to do. There's definitely some stuff here that I don't understand, although I have a bit of an idea about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and things like that, but maybe somebody can explain this to me in more detail. And then they also say coming soon more information, so it's something. So it seems to be relevant to come back to this website now and again and just check if there's going to be more information being shared here over time. And then also on the About page, you can see that they mention here working with New Life Ventures, which we've seen now has invested in this company, and that will allow them to concentrate on the back end and the operating software. So it seems like they won't have something going to market necessarily anytime soon, but they're working on the infrastructure, and we'll have to keep an eye on this site to see if there's more information. Then there's New Life Mines, which is one of the other investments that New Life Ventures have made. So I don't know if there's a connection between New Life Mines and New Life Ventures, but it seems to be that this company is focused on AI and brain implants. And immediately something that stands out here is Modex. So Modex is a tool that's mentioned as part of the technology and equipment that the seedlings will be able to take with them to Avesta and to use on site. And here they talk about electric generation technology, and that's also mentioned on the Seed Pioneers website. So this could possibly be a way of explaining how we as players might be able to influence or guide our seedlings. Because I mean, why would they just listen to our instructions? There's got to be some way that we have some sort of control or influence over them, as they are not just brainless seedlings just doing whatever they are told. They are continuing to work and sleep and interact even when the player is offline, because remember, it's a persistent simulation. It runs 24/7 whether the player is logged on or not, so they can think for themselves. So this gives some information about how this brain implant works, but it's very little information. It doesn't explain the specifics. And then there's a newsletter that you can sign up for. So let's just look at investors. So here's just a confirmation that New Life Ventures is an investor in this company. Doesn't seem to be any other information, but they also have a careers page. Okay, so in this careers advert, you'll have an idea of what sort of team they are building, and this could also indicate that maybe some of these skills need to be present in our groups when we apply for the Seed Pioneers program, because if we're going to work with some of these technologies, maybe we'll need to do training, maybe we'll need to read up on certain things to upskill ourselves or our seedlings to work on this. And what's a big find here is Laghari's email address. So remember, we were looking for that earlier because we wanted to email her about the Quito earthquake. And it also says here, send cover letters and resumes to that same email address with the subject living tissue on brain implants. Now I've mailed to that address, but maybe because I didn't attach a cover letter or a resume, that's maybe why I didn't get a reply. But remember, this email address, mail to that email address about the Sebastian Espejo matter, where she claims she's had nothing to do with that, but she can share some more information if you email her. And in the subject you must have Quito earthquake. Now I've done that. You'll get some very interesting information back, a very interesting puzzle to solve, but I'm not going to give it away today. So that's New Life Minds. We've looked at all three the pages, so that's covered. Okay, so let's close that one. Then the other company that was in their investment portfolio is this one, Frontiers. Now Frontiers seems to be an engineering company, and they seem to be working from subsea to deep space. So now deep space is very interesting for us because some of the problems that need to be solved in the SEED program are things like deep space travel, survival. Terraforming was something that in the SEED Pioneers program is critical. That's the mission objective. That's a big part of the whole reason why we are going to Avesta for this Pioneers program. And here they mention direct air capture and even working on things like climate change, clean breathable air, and that's very relevant to us on this SEED Pioneers program. Now I've also had a look at these two guys. I haven't found a link yet, but go and have a look, see if you can find something. And then they have this connection to the Schroeter group, who seem to be running a earth science PhD program that's had some major developments, and it's about predicting and computing weather, but going further than that and going to actively controlling it, which is terraforming in a sense, isn't it? You are trying to control the weather, improve the weather, trying to get temperatures into a livable range, trying to get the oxygen and other gas ratios to work together so that you can survive. And you can again email them here. Now I've tried it, I haven't got a response yet, but maybe you will. And so the Schroeter group, if we maybe just, it's not the Schroeter group, it's the Schroeter group. Schroeter group, that's it, yeah. Let's see if we find something here. Schroeter group, there seems to be Schroeder group, that's not what we are looking for. But there seems to be only one LinkedIn profile. Let's see if that pans out to something. Okay, so this, yeah, I'm not sure whether this is related. I don't think so. It doesn't look like it. Let's have a look at their website. Okay, so this is the link from their LinkedIn page. Eturama flexographic printing machines for tags and labels. Okay, is this linked to Quito Foods and Cello Natural, where they were adding the barcode onto the products? Maybe we'll have to come back and investigate this one. So let's finish up here with Frontiers. That seems to be everything here, but we can check back here again to see if we missed something. And then the last company that's mentioned in the New Life Ventures investment portfolio is Plaxin AB. Now we know about Plaxin, we've heard about it. It's on the SEED Pioneers program website, where they talk about Plaxin as being a building material that you will use on Avesta. And Plaxin AB seems to be working on the problem of getting rid of single-use plastics. And what they are mentioning is that the process they use involves organic matter and bio-waste being grounded down and processed in a patented Plaxin mixer. So now the Plaxin mixer was also mentioned on the SEED Pioneers website, so go and have a look if you haven't seen that yet. And then there's a couple of pages here, so let's just open up everything and then we'll go back to that to check what it is. Look about us. They have a quote here from the New York Times. I haven't heard of, but okay, let's look at happy clients. Maybe that's a link to other companies that we haven't had a look at. So okay, so here, one of the links we opened, there's an error page, so nothing there. Again, another one, also an error page, nothing there. Under news and notes, which is presumably their blog, they haven't completed the website, it seems. So there's a bunch of articles, but no wording in the articles. So this looks a little suspect. And in any case, it talks about FTC regulations and tax and credit cards. I don't know what that's got to do with getting rid of single-use plastics. Okay, so here we have another site reference to the ocean cleanup, and then these founders, John Brune and Amalia Pollum. So maybe you can Google them, see if you find a link on those two. Let's see a consultation, maybe we can find a link. So the link to the ocean cleanup, this is a legitimate organization that is trying to clean up plastic from the ocean. And again, it's very interesting to go and read up on what they are doing. It's extremely scary what's out there in the ocean and what we've already done to this planet. So go and have a look, support them if you can in some way, but it's interesting to see what they are doing and what they are trying to put in place to fix some of these issues, like this interceptor machine that basically vacuums up plastics and waste. So go and have a look at that. Very, very interesting. Okay, so again, another page, that consultation page that has no information, and this is their pricing, their services page, also no information. Okay, we've had a look at these two, and the last one also nothing. So maybe we're missing something. Let's have a look here in the menu. Okay, so here's a couple of extra. Let's open all of these and see what we find. Okay, so this talks about plastics. There's a bunch of references to articles. I'm not going to go into all of those. Go and have a look. But they are talking about essentially how we are screwing up our planet by using plastics. And just from an interest point of view, go and read up on some of that. That's quite scary, and it's a good reality check. Then, here we go. This is about Plaxin. So, Plaxin being a bioplastic, which is, I think, sort of the simplest way of explaining what it is and what it does. It gives us an easy point of reference, and it does explain a little bit about how Plaxin works, how it's created. And what's also interesting here is that they mention it as being a building material. Now, on the AMAs, it's mentioned specifically that Plaxin will form one of the base ingredients for almost everything that you build on Avesta. So this is going to be an important site for us to keep track of and see if there's any new information. Partners they mention here, some of the big energy companies, and again here's New Life Ventures, which we've seen before, and Schroeder Group and Frontiers. So you can clearly see there's a link back to these three companies, although the Schroeder Group, we haven't found a lot of information about that yet. If you pick up a link somewhere, please let me know. Right, let's see, then there's their contact page. Now I have also emailed them here. You can do the same, see what you get back. And this seems to be a place where they will post articles that seem to be related with what they are doing. Let's just see what this article is. Industry plastic recycling from the Intercept. Again, you can go and have a read through this. And then the last page, we've had a look at this. Okay, so I think we've covered everything then. So I think we've covered most of the links and potential places of information that we've found up to now. Now, based on this investigation, and I recommend you go and do that yourself, read up, go and check out these different sites, build an idea in your mind of how this world is taking shape, and come and discuss it on the Discord channel. We are trying to figure out how this information might play into the game and might play into the universe of SEED, and we're also discussing how this assists in developing theories about how certain things will work in the game, like building and food production and terraforming and so on. And this is sort of a first level of investigation, I would say. Once you've got an idea of what the game is about and what the Pioneers program is about, go and have a look at these sites that we've mentioned here. And out of that, if you email the correct people and you look up some of the correct links, you'll get some information back, and that sort of takes you through to a next level where there's a couple of puzzles that need to be solved, a couple of questions that need to be answered, and this now gets you to a level where you're really starting to engage with the information in this game, and it's starting to get very interesting, and requires a bit of effort to figure out how things work. And that's part of the game. I'm really enjoying that. I know a bunch of other players are also having a lot of fun in this process. It gives us a lot of stuff to discuss on the Discord. So go and have a look. Come and tell us what you find. Share some information. You're welcome to message me directly if you want. Go and have a look at some of the news websites that have been put up where there's great articles about SEED, about the Pioneers program, about some of the information being found. There's a bunch of resources created by players. There's an AMA document. There's a Google album with all the screenshots and photos in. So come and join us on the Discord and come and have a discussion. So that's the end of this video. If you like the video, hit the like button. Please leave a comment. I want to hear what you guys think. If you want to see more videos, and there's a lot more coming, hit the subscribe button. Support me on Patreon if you are willing, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers.